Hi, everybody. I'm Ramona Zabriskie, author of Wife for Life, The Power to Succeed in Marriage, and the founder of Wife for Life University. And I'm so happy to be here today with members of my dream team on another episode of Wife Support, our YouTube show in which we take your questions and we do our best to answer them. We bat them around till we feel like we've offered you something that is hopeful and helpful. That's what we're going to do today with a question that's come from one of our viewers that I think is really important and applies to all of us, all women, no matter our age or stage. Sarah, what does our viewer want us to talk about today?
So one of our ladies wrote in and said, I agree that women don't allow enough opportunities for respite. I tend to feel guilty about it. Additionally, when I do get a night away, I tend to come home and feel grumpy when I have to get back to life and responsibilities. Is it because I don't do it often enough? And how do I combat this?
Okay, well, I totally relate. Totally relate. Well, I've gone out and I think this is it. This is going to be the thing that really gives me zing again. And I come home and my zing just went zong, like I go right. I feel like I'm right back where I started from. And it's really disappointing, if not bitter, frustrating to say the least. So I relate. You guys, you relate? Have you been there?
Yep.
Okay, well, then let's talk about it. What can we offer her that we've learned that can make the benefit that it's supposed to be the benefit to us for getting that respite and making the effort to self-care, make it a little more permanent, make it last a little longer in our lives? What do you think, Sarah?
Ramona, one of the things that I think about when we talk about taking this respite is thinking about the motivation or the reasons behind why we're doing it. And if we are doing it for the right reason, if it's not done for the right reason, it's not going to be nearly as effective and can even be counterproductive or harmful to your overall energy and, feelings for the day or what you have on your plate.
Wow. So the act in and of itself isn't all that's required. It's where is it coming from? What's your reason? So what's the right reason? What's the wrong reason?
So one of the right reason is to do it because it brings you joy and happiness, and you deserve that, and that's important. That's healthy, and that's such a great benefit. If you're just doing it for the reason of pleasing other people or trying to just get enough energy to tackle the next big need on your checkoff list, those become chores and a burden. They're not done to delight you or to dazzle you, which are terms we talk about in Wife for Life, reasons that just take care of you and fill up your bucket.
Oh, I totally agree, because sometimes you think you're going to go do something and get away from all the craziness, all the drama, maybe a conflict with your husband, or maybe the house is a mess, or you just think, oh, I've just got to get a break. But the problem is, you come back and it's all there. And even when you're trying to delight, it's in the back of your head. So maybe when you're on a hangout time, you are discussing it and still dealing with it.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. So even though we're trying to escape the pile of laundry or whatever, and we come back to it, how much better it would actually be if we could get that laundry done before we did our delight. On the other hand, we sometimes have to stop and take a little delight right in the middle of folding that. I'm just using laundry. It can be anything, that stack of papers or whatever. But still, the idea of an escape being your only motivation won't be truly satisfying, as you both pointed out. It has to be about, I'm going to do this thing just because it's wonderful. I'm going to do this thing just because it makes me happy. I'm going to do this thing just because I deserve it. And if you really can do that and believe that deep down, it really is that refreshment that you're seeking. Sarah, you mentioned delights. I want to clarify just a little bit about what a delight is. This is a Wife for Life term, and we have our own glossary, ladies. We'd love for you to get into the lingo with us. But one of those terms is the delight, and it refers to romancing our own heart, or taking responsibility for our own happiness. So a delight is anything that doesn't cost a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources, but it's just this little teeny investment in yourself, something that's peculiar to you, something that you enjoy that maybe others wouldn't particularly think was a delight, but you do. And you take advantage of doing these little things that give you that little boost of oxytocin. And we could give you a million suggestions, but you're probably going to be able to come up with them in your own head if you just sit down and think for a minute and be creative. And we encourage you to do that, to actually make a list of at least 10, 20 or more of these little things that delight your heart. And then when you're feeling stressed and not very creative, our brains don't work creatively when we're stressed. So in those moments, you can go to your little list. And I know a woman who actually created a poster board she keeps in her bedroom. And her husband is even aware of her delights. And he can pointedly say, oh, I think it's time for a delight for you. I can see it. How about this one? And then she finds it's really, really helpful to have that ready resource to go to when she needs a delight. And speaking of needing a delight, you want to have that variety of delights because different delights are helpful at different times and for different reasons, right, ladies?
Right.
Brooke, have you had that experience?
Yeah, I have lots of delights, and today I took a special delight and found croissants in the day-old section, the day-old section of the bakery. So they were even, super cheap. And I do enjoy food, and we don't necessarily recommend you have all your delights be food, but this is a special croissants. And so I had a croissant sandwich today, and it made me feel a lot better. And it was something I was already going to be doing, eating lunch. And it just happened to be a special croissant instead of regular slices.
So how often do you do that? How often do you delight your heart?
Well, it's good to shoot for at least 3 times a day, the bare minimum.
Wow, really? You do 3 a day?
Little tiny things. I really enjoy children's books. And so reading to my kids is something that can be, bothersome to some. But if I actually have in my closet a box of special books from my childhood. And so they're kind of old and easily tearable. So I don't just put them in with all the other books. But those are delightful to me to read those special books to them. And that's something easy I can do.
That's so fun. See, that's not something I would have thought of as a delight. That tells me a lot about you. I think it's delightful, actually. And so it's so fun. I like that you mentioned the idea of 3 a day. That's fantastic. Many women would be stretched to the max to think they should do 1 a day. But I'm telling you, at least 1 a day. And if you're in crisis mode, more like 5 a day. What do you think about that?
I think
today I'm saying if you're really in crisis mode, it will help lift you out of crisis mode. But it's going to be hard to, again, come up with the right activity. This is really important. Kata, you agree with me about choosing the right activity?
the right activity, I think, makes such a difference because, and having several and delighting yourself often. I think, it doesn't have to be a grand thing like going to a play or a movie, but it can be something like putting on your makeup or, trying a new smoky eye, or maybe, looking on Pinterest or something, finding a project or starting a project, or, I just think if you're delighting yourself a little bit, maybe trying as you're driving your kids to school, maybe pointing out to them the fall leaves or the new spring buds, or, trying to delight your heart in other ways and being deliberate, maybe even setting a reminder on your phone. Because if you're making those strides to be deliberate, it will happen and you will be happy.
I love that. You're right. Sometimes we really have to be, especially when we're getting into the habit. I feel like I'm very much in the habit now. And so easy peasy. But if this is a new concept, especially, it would be good to be super deliberate, even scheduling these things out. For sure, having your list in a place that's easy to access so that you can pull down from it. Even plan the next day. What are my delights tomorrow going to be? I even ask women who are in that crisis mode, to make a list in their journal and plan ahead for what their delights are going to be tomorrow. But still, I want to point out the idea of balance, right? You know what I'm talking about, Sarah, when I say balance?
Yeah, because there's this careful line of making sure you're doing self-care without being self-indulgent or selfish, where it's taking care of you without, taxing the family unit or the other people in your life.
Yeah. Most women, though, go too far the other way and not doing enough, right?
Right.
And another aspect of balance, the idea of if you are a person who spends a lot of time in your head, like that's your job, you have to do a lot of problem solving and thinking, then maybe your delight is going to be more along the lines of taking a hot bath. Because let's get out of our head for a while. All right, but maybe you're all worn out because you've been taking care of little people all day long, and it's very, very physical, but not so much intellectual going on. And so maybe for your respite, you're going to dig into a big, juicy book that makes you think really hard, and that's going to refresh you. So refreshment comes from having a contrast, if you will, to the very things that are filling up our lives generally. But I love the idea that, Kata, that you've talked about, this idea of escape, and that we think of respite as an escape, but it really shouldn't be. Respite is just because it's wonderful, and I don't even call it respite. I call it delight. So that really pinpoints in my mind what it's all about, this little thrill, this little fill of your soul or spirit. So we hope that's been helpful to you. If you're one of those women, and that's probably most of us, that feel a little guilty about bringing some wonder and joy, those little drops of happiness into our lives. I'm telling you, you got 4 ladies here, 4 people who love you, who are telling you, go ahead, you have our permission, right, ladies? Just tell yourself, Ramona and the Dream Team said, I can do this. I've got permission. Go out and, or go in, maybe it's an inward thing, but delight your heart. Have a delightful week and don't feel guilty about it. That's our message to you. All right. Love you. Have a great week. Be sure you go to ramonazabriskie.com for a lot more help and resources there. And consider Wife for Life University, where we talk just like this and we learn from each other. It's fantastic. And you can learn all about it there at the website, ramonazabriskie.com. All right. Have a wonderful week. Love you. Come back next week for more wife support.
See you next time.